Following massive backlash toward Adidas for refusing to end its business relationship with Kanye West, the shoewear company has finally decided to drop Kanye, like pretty much every other company that had ties with him. So let's get to those details and what sparked it. Now, first, keep in mind that Kanye West put out all these anti-Semitic comments. It started with, well, I don't want to say it started with the DEFCON 3 comment on Twitter. He had said some questionable things prior to that, but that's what really exploded in the press. And following that tweet and following some of the interviews he did where he repeated and regurgitated anti-Semitic talking points, Adidas responded to calls for, severing their business ties with Kanye by saying, well, our relationship with Kanye is under review. Now, keep in mind that Kanye was bringing in a lot of money for Adidas, and whenever a company makes a decision, what they weigh first and foremost is how their profits would suffer. But something happened over the weekend in Los Angeles, and that is what led to increased backlash toward Adidas. And let's go to this tweet. It shows a photo of white supremacists and Nazis in Los Angeles, California. They're standing on a bridge right above the 405 freeway, a route that I take to work all the time. And they're holding disgusting anti-Semitic propaganda on those signs. They're doing a Nazi salute. You guys get the picture, okay? And the tweet specifically says, hate in America. Yesterday, the head of an anti-Semitic and white supremacist group and his supporters dropped banners over the 405 in Los Angeles. One banner read, Kanye is right about the Jews. Just absolutely disgusting. So then all of a sudden, Adidas is in the news because they haven't severed their relationship with Kanye, but they're also in the news because it made people want to look into the history of Adidas. And they found out that its founders were, pro-Nazi. Certainly helped Nazi Germany by providing footwear to the soldiers and stuff like that. So not a good history. If I were Adidas, I would want to avoid the PR nightmare by just immediately severing ties with Kanye, but they hadn't done that. But following calls to do so, following all the controversy over the weekend, Adidas did terminate their partnership with Ye, releasing this statement saying that Adidas does not tolerate anti-Semitism and any other sort of hate speech, except they did until there was enough pressure for them to not have a relationship with this guy. Ye's recent comments and actions have been unacceptable, hateful, and dangerous, and they violate the company's values of diversity and inclusion, mutual respect and fairness. And I'm not gonna read the whole statement. You guys can go ahead and read the rest for yourselves. So Waz, weigh in on this. I'm curious what you think.
Just a couple of things I'd like to address because I'm way too online and the backlash on Twitter was something I was participating in or just consuming this morning. One, just know that if this was any other employee at Adidas, he'd have been got fired, been got let go, ties would have been severed. However, the Kanye and Yeezy deal, I think is doing something like 2 billion in business a year. Like that's with a B. Every year since probably like 2016 or 17. So this is a partnership that has earned them something like $10 billion in profit. That's a lot of, tracksuits, you know what I'm saying? So that's why Adidas was so hesitant to let go of this guy. And that's why he's gotten so much rope and so much leeway. One of the things that I've seen on Twitter that I'm not gonna lie, I think is kind of counterproductive in where the thinking stems from. But I understand why people go there. A lot of people were like, why wasn't Kanye fired when he said Harriet Tubman never helped no slaves get free and slavery was a choice? And he basically disparaged black people at every single turn. Why was he not fired? And that's because he's black. Like you get more rope to say messed up things about black people in public spaces when you yourself are black. I would imagine that if Kanye were Jewish, a lot of these crazy, ridiculously hateful statements he's making about Jewish people would be received differently, right? And and lastly, what I will say is, to speak to the black part of this, Anna, is that there will always be money and being willing to be a black face who will put words to hateful stuff about black people. You see it all the time. Larry Elder, Jason Whitlock, Candace Owens, like you name it. Any black conservative will get country in space, will get money. Let's not get it twisted. We'll be paid if he has, enough a little self-respect and dignity and self-worth, and will be willing to do those kinds of things. And so that's kind of where I'm at with the Kanye situation.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right about that. I mean, it's funny to be outraged about a trend that we've been seeing in this country for quite some time now. I think Fox News really popularized that trend of having a person from whatever disenfranchised community they want to demonize, essentially engage in demonizing said community. They do it with women, they do it with black people, they do it with Latinos, they do it with all sorts of disenfranchised communities within this country. It is their bread and butter. It is how they're able to peddle the kind of bigotry that they do. And we've seen how incredibly wealthy people like Dave Rubin have become by serving that role. People like Candace Owens have become by serving that role. It is a disgusting, craven trick that's played on people, and it works, unfortunately. But yeah, there's definitely money being made, a lot of money being made by people essentially saying the most horrendous, toxic things about the community that they at least physically identify with. It's crazy. Anyway, all right. Well, I do want to also just quickly note that there were a lot of other companies that decided to sever ties with Kanye. In fact, I can't really think of any other business or corporation that's still doing work with Kanye. CAA, for instance, is an agency, a talent agency, and it's now Ye's former talent agency no longer represents him. And Def Jam, his longtime record company, said that his contract had expired last year. Ari Emanuel of Endeavor, the parent company of William Morris Entertainment, that's another talent agency, called on entertainment companies to stop working with him. As I mentioned yesterday, Balenciaga, the fashion house that had partnered with Ye in his Yeezy Gap project, which came to an end in September, and opened its runway show in Paris this month with a modeling stint by Ye, actually deleted him from its pictures and videos of the show. So, the chickens have come home to roost. This is what happens. And so now he's in the camp of some of the worst people in the country, right-wing gangs like, the Proud Boys and stuff like that. It's depressing. And they're 100% exploiting his mental health issues to their advantage.
Yeah, and you mentioned a pattern when you talk about conservative media and the people that they'll get up there and basically be pawns. Kanye's been on it, like he's demonstrated a pattern of behavior where, like I said, in 2018 when he was talking about, I'm not a slave, and he was rocking the red hat and all of this crap, slavery's a choice. Like it was just black people's turn that time, and it's just been an endless cycle of this guy saying the dumbest, most ridiculous, and oftentimes extremely hateful stuff in public. And this is no different. And again, this is a story that a lot of people are following, so I understand why we're talking about it here on TYT. But I would just really encourage people to not take the things that celebrities say to heart, and not empower these people to have such a sway on how we feel about people and ourselves by extension. I just really wish that, Kanye could be an example for us to throw celebrities as public, important people in the trash, honestly.
Yeah, I love that take. And I think you're absolutely right about it. There's way too much weight on what like random celebrities have to say about politics. They're not experts. And the only thing about the Kanye story that I think is worth talking about is the impact it has in emboldening the worst people in the country to carry out, their anti-Semitism. And so I think we saw that in Los Angeles of all places over the weekend. And it's dangerous when we're dealing with a climate of, political violence and increased numbers of hate crimes all throughout the country. But anyway, there you have it. Adidas finally gave up and severed ties with Kanye.